Today we'll be reading from The Way of the Superior Man. Chapter 5. Always hold to your deepest realization. So let me get started. And we'll unpack this chapter. We'll unpack what's going on and weave different thoughts and spiritual teachings that all interweave in this, because this is some good shit, guys. Eternity must be a man's home, moment by moment. Without it, he is lost, always striving, grasping at puffs of smoke. A man must do anything necessary to glimpse and then stabilize this ever-fresh realization and organize his life around it. So eternity must be a man's home. What is eternity? It is God, it is consciousness, it is what's not changing. So according to the way of the superior man, and this is the thought process, mental model, philosophy, spiritual teaching, whatever you want to call it, that I also hold on to, is the masculinity is all that is eternal, it is consciousness, while the feminine is all that is changing. Of course, they're all a part of the universe, a part of creation and God. But the masculine is like a square. It's stable, it's solid, it's boundaries. While the feminine is like nature, it's like the ocean's tide, a hurricane. It is aging, it is all that is changing. So the reason eternity must be a man's home is because eternity, God, consciousness, is his anchor. Without this eternity, without this anchoring into what is God, into what is actually important, what matters, he is seeking validation externally, whether it's through status, money, women, the things that the matrix, the things that the external world will try to play games on you and me, on us. It will say you need A, B, and C, and you must strive for that. It's like a rat race, never ending. We get one thing, we need another thing, we need another thing, and it's never fulfilling. And we always feel like we're always chasing. And that is a part of the masculine drive, being more goal-oriented and action-driven. This is part of masculinity. But when we are action-driven from the source, from eternity, from God, that is when we are most aligned with our purpose. Let me continue here. Make your life an ongoing process of being who you are at your deepest, most easeful levels of being. And who are we? And this is not part of the book, but who are we at the deepest level? We're expressions of God, right? We're expressions of consciousness. Everything other than this process is secondary. Your job, your children, your wife, your money, your artistic creations, your pleasures, they are all superficial and empty if they are not floating in the deep sea of your conscious loving. So here it's like your conscious loving. Your conscious loving is God, right? Because God is love. So if these things are not tied, if you do not put God first, right? Put love first, everything else falls away. Everything else is shallow. If you cannot reach the depth within yourself, we cannot reach the depths of our relationships with other people, with our creative expressions. How are we supposed to create depth if we aren't in depth itself? We aren't in there. How many hours today was your attention focused in the realm of changes on events, people, thoughts, experiences? And how often was your attention relaxed into the source? Where is your attention right now? Can you feel its source? Even for a moment, can you feel that which makes attention conscious and aware? Can you feel the deepest nature of attention? What happens when you simply, effortlessly allow attention to subside into its source? And this reminds me of The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So there is nothing that exists but the now. The past and the present, as radical as it sounds, don't exist but in our mind, right? There's nothing but now, right now, as you're watching this, right now. Of course, the future is an expression of what the now will be, but when we're in the future, it's the now, right? And when we think of the past, really, the past was an expression of the now in that moment. The reason I connected to the power of now is because when we are present, completely present, feeling the ground beneath our feet, feeling our breath, feeling ourselves, and being just in flow in the moment is when we are most powerful, and we are most in flow with everything around us, with nature, with people, with what we are doing, with the task we have at hand. We're not bombarded by all these thoughts and fears and doubts and things that have been programmed from birth, from our upbringing, from generational trauma, from ancestral generational curses, or whatever you want to call them. Rather, it's more of like an emptying of our mind and of just being completely present. I'm sure you've experienced moments like that the same way I have. For example, when playing a sport, sometimes there's a moment of flow where there's nothing in my mind but what I'm doing. Warriors are really good at accessing this flow. A warrior cannot be thinking about 1,000 things at once. He must be focused on the task. A swordsman who is overthinking everything is going to make mistakes. Rather, he becomes a part of the sword, right? The best swordsman sees the sword as an extension of himself. He is the sword, he is the weapon, he is in flow. This source, so let's continue here. This source is never changing and always present. It is a constant silent tone behind and pervading the music of life. Feel into the source as deeply as possible, and then reapproach your work, intimacy, family, and creative efforts. When you make money from this source. Find out what happens to the details of your life when you live more consistently from this source. So that's the goal, right, fellas? To tap into this source, just tap into this unlimited power, because God and consciousness are unlimited. They are in a realm beyond the physical, beyond the material. When we tap into that quantum energy, it is unlimited. And we are a part of that. We're always connected to that at all times. We're just not always aware of it. So when we approach life from that angle, imagine what can happen. It is not limited by the confines of our mind. Our mind can only come up with certain iterations of what the future might look like. And it's not going to look like that because we cannot predict the future. We can try to control things here and there, but it's still limited by what's in our mind. What's not limited is God or consciousness. Imagine what God could create, what that source can take us to, something beyond what we ever dreamt of, right? So it's good to question why or where our intentions come from, whether we're living aligned to that source, whether we're tapped in to that source. Sometimes we're chasing something and it's not even authentic. It's not a part of what we actually want to do. We're doing it because we feel we have to, because we feel obligated, or we're stuck in this cycle and don't realize we can actually get out of it. So I'm going to continue here. Use aids to support your relaxation into and creation from this source. Read books that remind you of who you are. I recommend this book because it's one of the best masculinity as spiritual books I've seen. Very balanced. So read books that remind you of who you are in truth. Another really good book is The Power of Now. I'm reading that currently as well. Spend time with people who inspire and reflect the source to you, and to that, with some of the 5 people we hang around the most, right? We want to be conscious of who we have around us, because their thoughts, their feelings, how they are, their vibration will affect ours as well. Like it starts even subconsciously. Meditate. Let me continue. Meditate, contemplate, or pray daily so that you steep yourself in the source. If you are like most men, you have strong habits that rivet your attention to the events and tasks of the day. Days and nights fly by for years, and life slips through your fingers. Your attention absorbed in the seeming world of necessary responsibilities. But all of it is empty if we do not live our responsibilities as expressions of our depth of being and heart truth. This is true. Like most of my life, I've been unconscious. I've been doing things subconsciously, automatically, bad patterns I've had to undo. I wasn't aware. I wasn't outside of the matrix. I was just doing what I felt I had to do. I was working a minimum wage job. I was going to school, but I wasn't doing anything that made me feel alive, that made me feel connected to God. And it's as it says, if you are like most men, so this is a common thing for men to be guided by this discipline. And discipline is not a bad thing. It's a great thing to have. But it's very easy to become unconscious and just do things. It's like when we're driving from work, right? We go to work and then we drive home and we don't realize where we even went. We don't even think about, oh, turn to left here, turn around here. It's super unconscious until you get to your destination and you're like, holy shit, how did I even get here? And I don't know anybody that hasn't experienced this unconsciousness, just acting out and like living that life where like, what the fuck was I doing? I was just asleep the whole time. Yeah, let me know. Like, comment below if you also experienced that, or if you're recently coming out of that, or you're stuck right now and you're like, I have to make a change in my life. There's something I want to do. Think about just a step right now in the present that you can do. It could be the smallest thing. Just jot down 5 steps that can be done to get you closer, even an inch closer to that life that is more aligned, that is more conscious, that is closer to what you actually want. I'm going to continue now. Know eternity. Do whatever it takes. And from this depth of being, live the details of your life. But if you postpone the process of submerging yourself in the source for the sake of taking care of business first, your life will be spent in hours and days of business, and then it will be gone. Only if you are well grounded in that which is larger than life will you be able to play life with humor, knowing that each task is a mirage of necessity. Oh man, I love that part. I really love. There's a lot to unpack here. So a lot of us, and I catch myself doing this, right? When I worry about money, like, it's easy to say, I have to take care of this first and then I'll get spiritual. And then I'll create a closer relationship with God, or and then after this, I'll be able to do what I want. It's so easy. It's so easy. It's something that I struggle with even to this day. But each time I learn, I'm like, no, I cannot sever that relationship with Source or God. I can't be misaligned because it just, nothing works. It's just not a life that I know ends well. And it feels shallow and hollow, and I'd rather have my presence than money. And we all know of like these really wealthy guys that have everything. You could say everything materially. The world is theirs, but they are so deeply unhappy, and sometimes they even kill themselves. They have everything, but they're lost. They're not connected to God, to love, to Source. Their relationships are in shambles, and it's a life of misery, even though technically they have everything, and we don't want to get there. The line that I especially like is, only if you are well grounded in that which is larger than life will you be able to play life with humor. So larger than life is God. You know, when we're grounded in God and consciousness, we're actually able to have fun with life because we know at the end of the day we're okay. We are like mini gods playing a simulation, and we're in a simulation essentially. Knowing that each task is a mirage of necessity. So a mirage of necessity, it seems like paradoxical, an oxymoron. It seems paradoxical, right? The mirage of necessity. Mirage is illusion. Like, it's not real, and it's true. Like, when we reach that end, and like, let's say we're at a deathbed, we realize, well, everything was an illusion. You know, this is a game. This is a simulation, but we're still playing that game. We're still here, we're plugged in, so we might as well play it well. We might as well play it to our strengths. We might as well create something out of this life, something good, something big, something that we're able to do. So it is in this material world. It is a necessity in order to have money, right? We live in a society that requires money, that requires housing. I mean, you don't have to have those things. There are people that are homeless and they're okay. Like, literally, there are vagabonds, you know, way back then who have said, I feel more peaceful now than I ever did working, you know, that rat race type of thing. It exists, it happens. It's hard to believe, but it does happen. But let's say we're playing by the rules of like the rules of this society, of this capitalist culture and all that. We can play that game, but we know it doesn't really matter. Like, it's a mirage. Like, yeah, I want to get wealthy. Let's get wealthy. Let's accumulate all this wealth. But it's just, it's a material thing. It's like, I have it, but what really matters is my connection to God. And at the end of the day, even if I die, even if I'm gone physically, I'm not really gone. My consciousness is eternal. I will continue to exist the same way all energy recycles. It's the same thing. It's just that this physical body is done. I'm going to continue now. This is the last paragraph. Even if you find yourself in some trivial moment watching TV or cleaning up a mess in the kitchen, feel the truth of who you are. Feel the boundless cognizance in which each instant seems and vanishes. All moments are the same intensity of clarity, completeness, and humor when you meet each moment with your deepest realization. Nothing that has ever happened has made any difference to the one who you are. That was beautiful. That was a nice paragraph to end on. All moments are the same intensity of clarity and completeness. It could be now, you watching this video, or it could be you starting your business, or it could be you at your job. Every moment when we're present, when we're in the now, when we're really conscious, that divine connection is always there, and it is unparalleled to anything material that can be given to us. It is unparalleled. Like, at any moment we can tap in, because we are tapped in, because we are that. We're that. So it's a bit of a paradox in terms of, like, we are this very distinct and unique expression of consciousness. That's what we are. We're expressions. Like, God is experiencing himself through me and you. Yet, whatever happens, all these changes, we are still that unchanging at the same time. Anyway, if you ever feel lost in terms of, like, feeling like you're stuck in this rat race, or like you feel disconnected from spirit, creator, God, or you feel like you've lost your way, this is an excellent book to read, especially as a masculine, as a man. And this chapter, especially chapter 5, it's a really short chapter. It's like a little over a page. It brings you back to what matters. And there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of things telling us what to do. A lot of grifters, a lot of marketers, a lot of programs, a lot of things. And this is not that I think, selling is bad, because people can provide value, and an exchange is a monetary exchange. But it's good to be conscious of where certain things are taking you, certain programs, certain media marketing, social media, Instagram, TikTok, and really silencing that in order to know what is it like, really, like, I'm this expression of God, and what is actually aligned. So this chapter is a really good grounding. It's chapter 5, page 23, for anybody that has this paperback book. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know if you want more breakdowns of this book, or if you're interested in me breaking down any other books. I'm a pretty big reader. If it's about masculinity or spirituality, even Jungian psychology, like another book I'm working on right now slowly is A Man and His Symbols by Carl Jung. Thank you for checking this out. If you're interested, I have a link down below that is a masculine archetype quiz. So there are archetypes in the masculine collective, like 4 main ones: the king, warrior, magician, lover. If you're interested in seeing which one you're aligned to most at the moment, there's a quiz down below. It's completely free. Check out my website. I have subliminals and meditations that are geared towards a masculine. I greatly appreciate if you check that out. I'm currently working on setting up a blog and making more written content. That's a task that puts me in my flow state, and I express myself a lot better. It's a lot easier for all you readers. If you don't want to watch a whole video, skim through that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.